Brought to you by Penguin.
Making Sense of a United Ireland by Brendan O'Leary. Read by Brendan Dempsey. Accompanying this audiobook is a supplementary PDF containing maps, graphs and colour plates referred to throughout. Preface. Ever since the contested partition of Ireland in 1920, there have been regular demands for reunification. Sometimes these demands have been accompanied by threats of violence or sustained armed campaigns. This book does not demand Irish reunification, but it does expect it, with a high degree of probability for reasons advanced in the first chapter. The ethos of this book is peaceful and democratic, in keeping with the Belfast or Good Friday Agreement. Respect for the will and consent of majorities in both jurisdictions on the island is exhibited throughout. Expectations of reunification have varied in intensity over the past century. The premise of this book is that reunification is more likely to occur within the next decade than at any juncture in the last 100 years. The year 2030 will mark a decisive tipping point, with the disappearance of a cultural Protestant majority in Northern Ireland among those entitled to vote across all age cohorts, with the possible exception of those aged 85 or over. Demography is not destiny, and this book is written without the results of the 2021 census in Northern Ireland, which will be published after it goes to press. But we do not need to wait for them. The brute demographic facts of the census of 2011 predict the future quite well. 19 years later, in 2030, the cohorts aged between 0 and 18 in 2011, assuming they are still living in Northern Ireland, will have joined the electorate as adults. They will decisively tip the balance against the historically dominant community, which will also have lost any advantage among the older age cohorts that it had in 2011. The future of Northern Ireland will be in the hands of a non-Protestant majority. This fact to be requires preparation, not premature exultation, and certainly not lazy deferral of its predictable consequences. Regrettably, some will persist in wishful thinking. Some will be saddened at the thought of this future fact. Sadness, however, is not a political remedy. Others will be angered, but will want to think after their rage dissipates. The need to prepare for the possibility of reunification affects all on this island, and it affects our diasporas. This book is a call for effective preparation, accurate information, and informed judgments. How will reunification happen, if it does? And how should it happen, so it can happen as well as possible? Making Sense of a United Ireland was first drafted on a Fulbright scholarship in late 2021, between Delta and Omicron becoming the latest letters from the Greek alphabet to describe global threats to our public health. The manuscript was revised in early 2022 after close readings by numerous friends. The text was completed 100 years after the establishment of the Irish Free State. The book accordingly may exhibit some of the collective pride widely felt in the recent accomplishments of independent Ireland. It will also be clear that I regard partition as an avoidable error or series of errors, and that over the long run, Northern Ireland, by any measure, has performed much less successfully than independent Ireland. Holding these opinions does not mean that I believe that Irish reunification is inevitable, or that it will necessarily be a success. It can be a success, but only if mistakes are avoided, and preparation to avoid them must begin now. Plagues remind us of the fragility of all people, and that our most lethal enemies may not be humans. They also provide some of us with stilled moments to think about the future. This book was written without certainty about the future, even though it seeks to avoid ambiguity. Fanatics and prophets, especially fanatical prophets, know the future with certainty. Usually, they are wrong. This book has been composed to reduce uncertainty, to address probabilities, possibilities, risks, and benefits, and to clarify what may happen and what should happen. It aims to provide provisional and revisable answers to what the author judges to be the most looming questions obliged by our shared future. A realistic portrait is offered of the possibilities of reunification, not a promise of a good...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?